Smoky air is sadly back in the North Country due to the wildfires in Quebec. I'm looking at airnow.gov and I'm seeing big stretches of red, aka unhealthy, across Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties, central and western Adirondacks. More moderate yellow in the High Peak, Champlain Valley, Glens Falls area right now. So what to do? Some tips on how to respond to smoky air and protect yourself on today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Claxton Hepburn Medical Center, dedicated to providing patient care and regional services to the people of St. Lawrence County, claxtonhepburn.org, and CCOM Credit Union, serving the financial needs of people throughout northern New York and Vermont, in person, online at ccom.org, and on your smartphone.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, June 29th. First up, as we'll hear in a minute, now may not be the best time to go on a long hike with all the wildfire smoke. But summer is busy Adirondack trailhead season, and it can be tough to find parking. There were 2 shuttle systems for hikers that helped ease those parking problems, but one won't be running this summer, and the fate of the other is still up in the air. Emily Russell explains.
For the last 2 summers, New York State has partnered with Essex County to run a free shuttle for hikers in the Adirondacks. You'd park at Marcy Field in Keene Valley, and the shuttle would take you south along Route 73. You could get off and get picked back up at popular trailheads like the Garden, Rooster Comb, and Giant Mountain. Matt Baer works at the Mountaineer, an outdoor shop in Keene Valley. Baer says hikers have already started asking about shuttle options this summer.
We got a lot of people coming down here either looking for that shuttle information or just alternative places to park.
Parking at the busiest Adirondack trailheads can sometimes fill up by 5 or 6 in the morning this time of year. The High Peak shuttle tried to solve that problem, but not many people ended up riding it. Only about 100 in the first summer and a little over 200 last year. So this summer, the state pulled that shuttle out of rotation, and the state's been pretty quiet about that decision, only mentioning it in a press release about state land management from early June. Baer from the Mountaineer says with confusion over hiker shuttles, he's been pointing folks to other places in the park.
We just suggest alternative hikes, like different areas for them to go. Like, I know this was your plan A, but maybe take a look at something a little similar, but kind of in a less populated area.
Like Hurricane Mountain near Elizabethtown. That summit has a fire tower, beautiful views, and isn't nearly as crowded as the High Peaks. There was another shuttle option in the area, which predates the one along Route 73. The town of Keene has run a bus from Marcy Field just up to the Garden parking lot and back, a quick 5-minute ride. The Garden is one of the most popular access points into the High Peaks, with trails leading to places like Big Slide and the Brothers. Keene Town Supervisor Joe Pete Wilson says on busy summer weekends, that shuttle up to the Garden can see more than 100 people per day.
The Keene shuttle is successful because you have no option. If that teeny parking lot at the Garden is full, if you want to get up there, you got to ride the shuttle.
Keene has run that shuttle from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on summer weekends in the past. But so far this summer, Wilson says he's struggling to find a certified driver. He's worried about what hikers will do and where they'll park when the Garden lot fills up.
It's going to be a really inconvenient summer for residents, and we could be back to having to tow cars when they're blocking access for safety vehicles.
If and when the town finds a shuttle driver, Wilson says they'll resume that route up to the Garden. There is one shuttle on track to run in the High Peaks, but not until the fall. New York State and Essex County will run their shuttle along Route 73 when the fall colors are peaking. So on weekends from early September to early October. Wilson says there is demand for that shuttle.
People want to see things without having to worry about parking and traffic. They'll be able to get off, do a short hike. There'll be educational materials on the van for them.
Over 2 weekends in the fall last year, that leaf peeping shuttle had about 50 riders. Emily Russell, North Country Public Radio.
New York State has issued an air quality advisory for the entire state through the end of today. You can find the latest air quality index for where you live by going to airnow.gov. Andrea Farrow is a professor of environmental engineering and an air quality expert at Clarkson University in Potsdam. She says the smoke you're seeing and smelling and breathing right now is a mix of gases like carbon monoxide and fine particles. And that particulate matter, she says, is the most concerning for our health.
First of all, there's a lot of it. When the trees and the vegetation burn, they don't combust completely. There's a lot of carbon in it, but then other compounds. And so you're breathing this and it gets deep into your lungs. It also can get into your bloodstream and reach your organs.
You know, we have various levels and we're announcing these on the radio: unhealthy, very unhealthy, hazardous. How should we think about our own risk?
You should assess your risk personally, and the air quality index gives you good indication. So if it's under 100, then that's moderate risk. Really under 50, you have good air quality. But at over 100 to 150, it's unhealthy for sensitive groups. And so if you have conditions like asthma or COPD or heart disease, then you should certainly be careful. I think anyone, really, if it's over 100, you should be changing what you're doing so that you can reduce your exposure.
And by changing what you're doing, like what should we be doing? Should we be just spending more time indoors, closing the windows?
Definitely. So it's funny because around here in the North Country, we often keep our windows open. A lot of people don't have air conditioners, so we open our windows up at night and close them down during the day and keep the house cool. But in this case, we'll have to add another factor. So if it's smoky out, we're not going to want to open our windows. You want to keep things closed down. You can also use a portable air filter, like a HEPA filter. You can run your air conditioner, but not bringing in the outdoor air. Some of them run, so you just sort of cycle your indoor air, but you're cooling it down. So there are ways to reduce, even if the particles get inside, to sort of reduce the levels.
And we should also mention that people should also, if people go outside, they can wear N95 filter masks that we're familiar with from the pandemic.
Yes, they can wear an N95, but they need to make sure they wear it properly. So you shouldn't have holes, under your chin or at your nose. Those are places where there's usually gaps. You have to really wear a good mask and wear it so it fits. I think one thing we saw with the pandemic is that the masks weren't working well to prevent spread, but it's mostly because people weren't wearing them properly. So if you're going to wear a mask to protect yourself, make sure you have a good fit.
So what about exercise? So we shouldn't exercise outdoors? Is that probably like the worst thing that we can do when there's bad air quality?
You definitely don't want to exercise outdoors if you can prevent that. So you can time it. So one thing that's happening here is we have bad air quality days and good air quality days. It's because the air is coming from different directions. So right now we have fires in Canada. So when the air is coming from Canada, we're getting these poor air quality days from the wildfire smoke. So you can time your exercise so that you're exercising when the air quality is good.
And so this is likely going to become something that's more a part of our lives, checking the airnow.gov map to see what the air quality is in our area and sort of responding accordingly.
I think so. It's something that we haven't really had to worry about too much in the past, but I think some of us are getting used to doing that now. And when you leave the house in the morning, deciding how do I set up my house? When you go to bed at night, should I keep things closed down? But luckily, there are ways that we can really reduce our exposure.
Andrea Farrow is a professor of environmental engineering at Clarkson University in Potsdam. You can find a chart with the different air quality levels and how you can alter your routine accordingly on our website, ncpr.org. We have more news there all the time, ncpr.org. Music today by some Ottawa musicians, Muskox and Raphael Weinworth Brown. I'm David Sommerstein, North Country Public Radio.